And welcome everybody to the Twisted Pair. My name is Greybeard. You're muted, sweetheart.
My name is Fine Ash Red, and we have a very, very special guest with us today. We have the one, the only Sebastien Cavalier.
Welcome, brother.
Thank you for having me in that beautiful cold Texas weather. Someone told me Texas as a nice and hot and whatever it was. Someone lied to me.
You got lied to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it doesn't happen often. It's an odd year. I mean, usually we're in that 60s, 50 to 60s, 70s time. We'll get cold in February, but you've been here for a little while now, so you know.
4 years on and off, right? But 4 years. And honestly, the last 2 winters, so I missed 2 winters ago, which I'm not complaining about, where everything like shut down here in DFW. Mm-hmm. But then we were here, early this year, when, was it this year or end of last year? I think it was this year, when it snowed again, where it was like ice everywhere for a week, freezing cold, and everything was kind of the same way as the year prior, but just a little smoother, shorter.
But we didn't lose electricity.
Yeah, we did. That's right. We didn't lose electricity, but it was still ass cold.
But y'all weren't out there in fishnets and shorts and little tops taking pictures with cigars and whiskey, okay? So when y'all do that, then y'all need to get some David Dukes on, get out in the snow with no shirt. I need to see that.
The reality is we would do it. I'm sure we would both do it, but nobody would want to see it. So it's not really worth the trouble.
I'm gonna use that as a reason not to, because in my mind I'm sitting there thinking, oh hell no. Red, I don't think anybody was putting a gun to your head saying get out there with fishnets and little itty bitty shorts and a tube top or whatever the hell it was that you were wearing to take pictures out in the snow. Nobody was doing that. I know it.
Pena. I'm going to blame Pena.
I think it was a year ago, just before Christmas or New Year's or something like this. I was in the mountains in Switzerland, and I just wanted to post a little, little thank you and thought for everybody out there. And so I went outside of the house, lit my cigar, and I was like, holy shit, I could see like every the steam going off you, really. You're just freezing out there. I went through that cigar after the video. I still remember how cold. It was a gorgeous day. Don't get me wrong. The mountains behind, beautiful blue sky, the sun, the snow. It was glorious, but holy, it was really cold. And I was in a hoodie like usual. So,
and I remember I made a comment because I was like, "Oh my gosh, that is so gorgeous!" I was just like, and then you said, "I froze my ass."
I remember that. All right, so let's get this started. What is everybody pairing?
So I'm gonna let you go first because I've got to gather my stuff.
Okay, so I remembered at the last moment, meaning Red reminded me while we're sitting in the green room waiting for everything to start that we had agreed to do Manhattans. So I'm sorry, I did not do a Manhattan. I forgot all about it. So I am drinking the Valpolicella 2019. This is an Italian red wine, a red blend that is quickly becoming one of my favorites. And Red and I both know how well the Cavalier cigars pair with so many different types of wines. And that's honestly the way I went with it, having forgotten about Manhattans. But I am smoking the new blend, the Inner Circle.
Woo-hoo.
I like it.
Okay. So I haven't picked my cigar yet because I was sitting here thinking, okay, so we have our beautiful, USA. You have the black one. Then we also have the limited edition, and this one is...
That's the 2020 that you have there, right?
The 2020. I also have the 2021.
Fancy.
Yes, the 2021. Then this one right here, Odd Job. Oh my, yes. This one is like one of my favorites. And then, and I'm going to kind of like go back. I also have, you know,
Oh no!
Oh,
I was
the
looking
one.
for my prospectors from 2019, and I was like,
Are you
I
ready?
can't find them.
Oh. So you got the prospect, the pick. Oh yeah.
And then I also have, so like I just grabbed like my like Cavalier section, and except for the 2021, and I was just like, I'll just do a blind pick. And then here was one that I also grabbed because this is what you and
Yep, and that I
want to
almost
talk
pulled
about
that one
this
out.
collaboration. I want to talk about this collaboration later on, but yeah, and I was really upset because it seems like I've been looking for the white, and as soon as the white lands in the cigar shop and I go to get it, it's like sold out in 2 seconds. And so, like, I get frustrated because that one's probably like one of my favorite ones. So I don't know. I think I'm going to do a blind pick.
You're going to love this one, Red.
Uh-huh.
Michael's Euless has the black Lancero.
Oh. Wow. So I think I'm just going to do a blind pick because I can't decide. Because what I went with, unlike Greybeard over there.
Hey.
I almost actually went with a red wine. I really wanted to do red wine gummy bears in a cigar. And because that's my favorite thing that I put with your cigar, Sebastian. I know I'm weird.
I don't know how to take that. I'll just say
phenomenal.
Okay.
It is phenomenal. Yeah, he's like, I knew she was weird, but I didn't know she was that one. But it is one of the best experiences I've ever had smoking a cigar. Is the sour gummy worms, the white Cavalier, and a red wine.
Tell her how crazy she is in your language that you would normally speak in Switzerland, as long as it's not English.
I'm thinking of English right now. Like that was pretty crazy. You said
okay,
Sebastian,
what's your pair?
So, Frey Ranch bourbon. I honestly, it honestly became one of my easy go-tos for bourbon. I think they do an amazing job. Pairs really well with cigars. And I'm actually smoking. Where is it? Here. It's sample from the factory. Well, how do I put this? We are rebranding completely, and we slightly reblended the regional for the US to include. And I'm throwing a bone there because I'm not supposed to. It's supposed to be out, but it's not yet. And so the press is going to get the information very soon. But the thing is, we're putting it under a whole new umbrella of different releases and different things worldwide, internationally. And the thought is we're adding U.S. tobacco in the blend. We kind of reworked around the blend, added Pennsylvania in there. Just because, well, it's a U.S. exclusive, and we now had access to U.S. tobacco, so we just, I thought it was the logical thing to do, to work around at least a little bit of U.S. tobacco for a U.S. exclusive. So that's going to be out very soon. My 2 cents on that cigar, this one, I'm actually, since we worked on that reblend, everything, I've been ordering them for myself to smoke, and that's most of what I've been smoking lately, at least for a couple of months. And it is just, yeah, I have no problem just switching the 2 cigars right now. It is the cigar just came out absolutely fantastic. So we can't wait to put it out. I think it's going to be a great experience for people.
So add us to, and I'll send you the email to add us to, but add us to your media, your press group, and we'll publish it on the website as well.
Yeah.
So when we're done, What's the best? Which is the best platform for me to message you on Facebook or on Instagram?
I'm more active on Instagram usually, but it's very difficult to follow. And I'm sorry for it's sometimes late answers and stuff. It's very difficult to stay on top of things. So what we can do is just shoot me a text there and make sure to check it, and I'll give you my email. This way, it's much easier to stay in communication this way. I think, if that's okay.
Absolutely perfect. All right.
And so that means that you guys, and I'm sorry about that. You guys missed the latest news from today, right?
Yeah, we didn't get it. So let us have it. What's going on?
I'm out of the cigar industry. I'm done. No, I'm joking. No, I'm joking.
Drag him back in. Drag him back in.
You just made me cry.
Couldn't live without it.
You just made me cry. Thanks.
Yeah, no. We actually just today announced the switch to our own distribution fulfillment company facility. So we opened our own warehouse distribution facility close to the factory, using a service door to door that is offered, with the whole system and everything. So we just have our own team down there now, taking care of everybody, our own facility and everything. We've had a fantastic time, and we've been, extremely grateful to work with Illusion and all they did for us at the time we really needed it. Mm-hmm. And we just got to a point where it was time for us to integrate this into our own operation. So yeah, we just opened a new company down there, employing more people. Thank you. We had a fun.
Congratulations.
A fun project. We've been working with a local Honduran artist. She did a tremendous job. I think it's 39 feet mural, about 39 feet, I think, if I remember well, mural she did in the whole warehouse. It looks amazing.
I mean, that was really
cool. So I have not seen that. I have not seen that. I'm going to have to look out for that. Yeah. Okay, so this is a great segue into let's start back at the beginning, because Red and I, we both known you for a number of years, and we got to meet each other and get to know each other really back close to your beginning.
Oh yeah.
Of Cavalier Cigars. So let's go back to the beginning and tell our viewers kind of where you got started from, how you came up with the name, and what that journey's been like. Yeah, the artwork and kind of what that journey's been like.
Yes, I guess you guys are right. We met a couple of years ago now. Time is just, flying. But yeah, it's been about 7 years now, I think, since I started it, but longer than that. Actually, previous to that, I was originally from Geneva, Switzerland, and I moved. I was 20, in my early 20s, 22 about, and I moved to Central America, Honduras specifically. Traveled in Central America, I lived there, learned about tobacco, and that's more or less when it started. Right, the whole opportunities to create something with it started when I was learning down there. I had an amazing, tremendous chance to spend that whole year with, I think, one of the most beautiful families in this industry, some of the most beautiful people, which Adin is always one to mention. Aim Perez is Nestor Plasencia's nephew. Nephew, I think. My English is sometimes fucked up, but somewhere around nephew. No, so Nestor is his uncle, so I guess it's nephew in English. I'm never sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nephew's right.
Yeah, nephew. And then spend some time with Nestor and his family, etc., etc. So I spent about a year with this group, larger family group, and learned with them. So that was tremendous. That was an incredible opportunity, especially not coming from this industry, not having nothing to see with this industry, being 22 years old, etc., etc. You just add up the things, and it's just shocking when I look back to it. I really can't believe it, and that's where it started. And I think so when I got back here, I got back to Switzerland at the time after all that, with a first blend and everything, and I knew what I wanted to do. I had no idea where I was going to go. Right at that age, you never had a company, you never had anything. You don't even know, you don't even know yourself. You don't know what you're doing. And I was just excited to do something, right? One thing led to another, and I started back in Switzerland about 7 years ago with the brand, and then step by step, the baby grew. The team grew, the family grew, the people started accepting us. We came to Texas with a partner at the time before we took it, in-house ourselves. And actually landed. That partner was in DFW, so that's where everything started, and where we got to know each other and everything around shops around here, events and stuff, and that's how we opened the U.S. at the time. I think a lot of things have changed. I went from the kid by myself that was doing this to a couple of people working for the company. Now we have it just fluctuates between 80 to 100 people working under Cavalier, between the manufacturing facility that we opened, the warehouse now, the US and European team, and et cetera, et cetera. So it kind of fluctuates in that 80 to 100 people range. A couple 7 years in now. But going back all the way, I think the one thing that people recognize us for in the last couple of years is the gold diamond, right? And that small gold stay gold hashtag and the diamond and everything has been, I think, something that helped a lot. But the thing that people tend not to know or not to notice, because we speak less about it, is the horse and the man. The name Cavalier in French, Cavalier means horseman. Horseman comes directly from that drawing, from that logo. And no, I didn't draw it. I don't. It would be a little more crooked if I did. I wish I did, but no, it came from a friend at the time. The story is very important, but for some reason it became something more and more personal. And the focus became more and more, what the brand was known for, which was that gold diamond. And now we're looking at those inner circles and those other brands. But the horse and the man started everything. I couldn't figure out for the life of me what name to put. At that age, what do you know about life? What is really important for you? Anything? So I couldn't know. I just knew I wanted Geneva in there because I was from Geneva, and Geneva has a massive history with cigars. I mean, Davidoff is Davidoff, right? Something is never going to change. And while I was living in Honduras, I met that guy that became a very good friend of mine. His name was David Rojas. David was a very unique personality. Big man, bearded, tattooed everywhere. He was a painter. Passionate about art, philosophy, self-taught, someone that read a lot, that was very involved, that helped kids locally, adolescents, by having them paint murals and, get paid for it instead of doing stupid things in the street, et cetera, et cetera. And he was also, on top of that, which is really rare down there, a huge cigar and pipe smoker. So we ended up becoming very good friends, and we were spending all our evenings together, just sitting down having beers in his little space he had that was half inside, half outside, with art everywhere and stuff, and just smoke cigars, drink beers, and that's it. Just having fun, And after a while, we talked and talked and talked, and I kind of shared with him the fact that I was looking for something. I just couldn't figure out why or what for the brand. And we came onto that drawing, that horse and that man, and he drew it bigger. And I still have that picture. It's Honduran style, right? It's two big leaves scotched together. It's actually still at his ex apprentice place, which I was hanging with a couple of days ago. He still has that framed, that handmade thing, and he kept it. They were very, very close to, and he kept it there. It has like stains on it and everything. It's a very special thing, but it's there. It's in Dunley, still alive, the original. And I told him, well, I want that. How much you want? How much you want for it? It's a piece. work
It's art.
you pay for work. It's nothing is free, and it's also a way to respect what was done, right? Everything has a
Right.
value. My question was, what is your value for that? And he was like, it's for the brand, right? I was like, yeah, I really wanted as the source, the source, the name, the inspiration for the name of my brand. And it was like, oh, for that, then it's free because it means you're going to bring my artwork all over the world. I was like, yeah, I wish. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, but that's the whole plan. But it's not okay. What do you want for it? And that conversation went on and on and on, and he never gave me a price. So I refused to take the drawing. And we part this way. I go back to Switzerland, and I was, scratching my head. That's why I don't have hair. Scratching my head. Scratching my head. I was like, I need to figure out something. I have cigars. I have my first blends. I'm ready for everything. I just don't have a name. And couldn't figure out. Nothing was coming. And one very sad morning, I woke up to a lot of messages from people from Honduras, from Danlí and El Paraíso, the whole area. And David, my friend, had died in a car accident, very, very young. He was not even 35 years old. He was just under 35. And that day was a little bit of an awakening. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to take you with me on my little journey. You wanted to give it to me, now I'll take it. And my way to repay him is going to be, just was bring him on the journey and just always have him with me. And his work and his passage in my life, if you want, defined most of what the whatever the years that passed after that were going to be. So yeah, that's a little bit the story. So he came with me. I just don't mention it as much anymore, but yeah, that's a little bit the whole thing. So that horseman became Cavalier. We obviously have more of the lettering now, but he's still there with us.
Well, and to me, we always talk about there's always stories behind the cigars that you smoke, behind the drinks that you drink, or the food, And when I heard you share that one, I was just like, I got goosebumps, and I got goosebumps again when you said it, because it's just such a beautiful story and a way to honor him that I just love it. And when you did your mural, I kind of thought of that. I said, I love the fact that you did the mural, because you're bringing the community in, you're bringing the people, and it's kind of paying homage to him again when you did that, because he kind of did the same thing. And I remember you saying that. So I'm like, it's come full circle. I think that is just beautiful, because I know that you love art and all that other stuff, but I think it's come full circle with you to do that. And I just wanted to say it's a beautiful tribute.
It
completely
is
all the way around.
Every time I go to purchase one of your cigars, the Cavalier cigar, or I see the logo, or I see somebody smoking one, I think of three different stories. I think of both of the stories that you just told us, because I've heard you tell them multiple times, and you've told me directly. We were standing at the Underground Cigars there at the corner. And
yeah, exactly. Just close to the counter, yeah.
Yeah, and you told me that story for the first time, and I've heard it numerous times since then. The third story that I think of every single time is the story about how the gold leaf came about. So while we're all putting some smoke in the air in homage, smoking one of your cigars, putting some smoke in the air for your brother who is with us in spirit, tell us the story about the gold leaf.
Yeah, that was a tough one. So we started the brand without the gold leaf, right? And it for a young thing that had no history, nothing at the time, it was fine. It was going well, we're getting some attention and everything, and I was happy, but the thought was always identity, right? And I always look at a brand, any brand, like a kid. Kid is born, and then it evolves in life. It grows. It becomes its own. It takes things from around. It learns, and it creates its own personality through whatever it lives through, right? And it was a little bit of thought bringing that to adolescence and then grown up. And one of the things that we noticed is, this industry is extremely competitive, right? Being able to create your own place is very, very difficult. Just because there is a tremendous amount of products, of brands, of things that are popping up, going, staying for some, and it's just an ongoing thing. We're gaining trust of people, but overall keeping in their minds and lasting is extremely, extremely difficult. And one of the things that Aileen, my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time we met in Honduras, through David too, actually.
Oh, okay.
He's the one that introduced us. Yeah. She worked with me since the early days on Cavalier, and we were always thinking, what are we gonna do? What is it that makes us different? What is it that makes us recognizable? What is it that people remember? Because good cigars, that's a very difficult thing. We all have our own signature when it comes down to working with tobacco, right? And in my case, I like to work with other people around. I have my ideas, and I sit down nowadays with Raul, for example, who is our general managers and general manager at the factory, and sometimes with Fopo, who is our production manager, and just sit down, throw ideas, work together, because it's what it is, right? It's a family. It's something we work together. It's always better. It brings more perspective into what we do. And anyways, the thought always was with Aileen, what do we do? What is it that makes us different? What is it that makes us stay here and not disappear? What is it that who is Cavalier? And obviously it was influenced very early on by who Aileen was, who I was, etc., because that's where it was born, right? But later on it had to, and we couldn't figure it out. I mean, what you go in a shop, the problem is you go into a humidor, you have, let's say, 2,500 different facings. You have a white band. It's great. Person smoked it, comes back in. He's like, I love that white band. I smoked two weeks ago. And the guy's going to look at you and say, oh, yeah, that's amazing.
Which one? There's like 20.
And I moved everything around in my humidor. I have no clue what you're talking about.
Exactly.
And add on top of that we have, Cavalier. Okay, in English, it still works fine. But remember that I started it back in Europe. And Europe, you can't rely on just one language or two languages. You have that, our vision of things was always, we had to work internationally. Currently, we're in over 30 countries, right? You can find Cavalier in Asia. You can find Cavalier in some countries in Africa. You can find Cavalier in most of Europe, in good chunks of North America. So the U.S., definitely, a little bit of Canada, a little bit of Central America, Mexico. You find the cigars in over 30 countries. So what happens when you have a Chinese trying to pronounce Cavalier? You're in massive trouble, right? So it was always a thought. Yeah. What do we do? A name is very difficult, and we I can't remember, for the sake of me, names of wines that I like. We're talking about wines, and I love wine. I just can't. So what works? It has to be visual. And my wife came back to me one day. Well, Aileen came back to me one day, and she told me, "I got it." What do you get? I mean, she's like, I know what we're gonna do. Okay, what are we gonna do? And she's like, we're gonna put gold on the cigars. I was like, no, not gonna happen. Oh, hell no. I mean, 100%. No disrespect to anybody that does, gold coating and stuff like that. It's nothing to do with it. But that's not my vision. That's not what I'm doing. I want to see my tobaccos. I do this because of tobacco. I don't do this because of gold. I like gold. Don't get me wrong. Who doesn't? But it's not what I. She says, no, you don't understand. And at the time, David had died, right? And she has an art background. She studied art there and everything. And she decided to take over the all the visuals, and she still does it to this day. So she was cleaning out. She was cleaning completely the white boxes, white label boxes, and in the U.S. They never came, but in Europe you could. I still have some of the very original ones that you can find in Europe with a very British kind of overlap of gold diamonds all over, but like pattern. And it was beautiful looking, but very old school. And she wanted something where the name would be there and much cleaner. And so she was cleaning the boxes to what you know as white label boxes, white series boxes today. And she said, people have seen that gold diamond pattern. Why don't we do a gold diamond as a band, as a symbol? And that's where it clicked. So yeah, it makes complete sense. So she came with the idea that, so the two people that made I should actually just be on holidays. The two people that made the brand, made what Cavalier is today is David and Aileen. That's the two people that work the visuals, right? And so she came with that. It was it's a very difficult process. The amount of people we have in the packaging section of our factory, for the size of the factory, is outrageous. We have 17 people working in the packaging plus the packaging manager for a factory that is somewhere around 80 people big, right, size wise. So that ratio should be somewhere around 7 to 8 people. We're at 17 because our packaging is very complex, very complicated. But I'm very happy with it. We provide more opportunities, more jobs, and it's the one thing that makes us who we are today. So I can't really. I'm happy with it.
And here's my thing: it's like you were talking about the band and the artwork and stuff, and you could say, "Oh, the one with the horse." Well, right off the bat, I can think of 3 different other cigars that have horses on it.
Yeah.
But the gold diamond just stands out. You don't ever forget because like the first time I saw it, I'm like, okay, that's on the cigar. I mean, that was my first thought. I was like, I'm sitting there touching it. And I got my first Cavalier from Blake Freeman. That was my very first Cavalier that I smoked. And it was a 2019, I think, that LE that y'all came out with. The first year y'all had the LE, I think.
2018 then, yeah.
2018.
Year, yeah.
So I had a 2018, and I looked off the bin, and I'm like, hey, there's gold on here. Like, what is this? And they're like, you smoke through the gold. Don't be afraid. And I think, and I've even told some people, they've asked me whenever I've given them, I said, you smoke through the gold. Make sure you smoke through the gold. I said, it doesn't change the flavor. It doesn't change anything. But they remember the gold on the cigar. Oh, that gold diamond cigar. What was it called? So I think that she did really, really good on that. So I have to give her kudos to that. And happy belated birthday to her, by the way.
Yes.
She'll be happy to hear. I'll let her know.
Thank you.
But yeah, if you think about it, it's to simplify the whole story. What she did for Cavalier, she did the Doritos thing on our scale, if you want. You see the Doritos signs, it's Doritos. You don't need to know the name. You just recognize it, and it's a little bit. It's the same concept, right? You create a symbol instead of relying on a name that is dependent on too many other factors. It's very hard to remember.
Oh, I've been in a lounge, and it was actually, I think, wasn't in Texas, and I can't remember if it was when I was in Kentucky, in North Carolina, or Florida, but it was one of those states. And I'm in the lounge, someone comes in and goes, "Hey, man, I saw this cigar that had a gold leaf in it. And do you have any?" And I just immediately, Cavalier. And the lounge owner said, "We had some, but we're sold out." And the guy was disappointed and turned around and walked right out because he wanted only your cigar.
Yeah.
That's a nice story to hear.
Well, and that's kind of how it's like I hear that they hit the shop, and as soon as I go to get them, it's already out, and I'm like, what the heck? I actually say something else. I say that what the fuck.
It's not past 9 o'clock yet. We got to give the case time to go to bed.
So, but like Burby Smokin said, the first time he had a Cavalier was at Scallywags in Scottsdale in 2018. So, and I think another thing is like you remember the first time you smoked it, because I have the world's worst memory on certain things. Like I can't remember. I have to take pictures of my cigars so I can remember what I liked. If I liked it, I posted it. It's up on my feed. People are asking me all the time. I said, look at my Instagram, look at my Facebook. If I liked it, it's up there. If I didn't like it, I'm not going to post it. Just point blank.
So my first one was in 2019, and it was the Cavalier Black, and it was given to me as well. I want to say it was Blake that gave it to me, but I'm not sure. But
Blake's spreading the gospel.
Cavalier Black. But in 2019, you had your limited editions. You brought out the Prospector, I believe, at NFG.
Yep.
Which was an exclusive just for the event, yeah.
Yes, an exclusive, and now is a regular part of your lineup. You had
it's a complete different blend, but it's the concept we kept because we thought it was a pretty, it was a fun project, it was a fun idea, it was a fun name. It just kind of fit, so that's why we kept it. Yeah.
But look at you've expanded the number of Vitolas that you have now on your blacks and your whites. You've brought out Odd Job. You have brought out you brought out the Prospector into your regular product line. You've got the Inner Circle. You've got your LEs. How many tastings do you have now?
So we're somewhere close.
And it's my favorite. It hands down. It is like if I could smoke one cigar every single day for the rest of my life, Greybeard knows what it is. It is the Smoker's Abbey Candela. That is like, okay, that changed because I had a Candela before, and I was like, okay, yeah, it's good, but then I had that Candela, and I have like posted, I've written about it. I mean, every time someone's like, I don't like Candelas, like Greybeard can't. I mean, like how many times have I mentioned that Candela just on the show?
Oh, we featured the Candela on the show. We did a specific pairing with the Candela on the show.
Yeah, and I was I want to do the Candela.
So I don't know if you know this. We've done the white.
A lot of your cigars.
We've done the white. We've done the Candela. We've done the black. We picked up a blend that you did for Bishop's Arts, specifically for Bishop Arts.
The Boxers, the anniversary, the Boxers Club.
Yes.
Yep.
We've done a number of yours.
I've done the Odd Job, and we've done the one that you collaborated with Noel. So I mean, like we're spreading the gospel.
With Edgar,
the gospel.
Edgar.
Yeah, Edgar.
It's so we've done a couple of one-off projects like this, like the Smoker's Abbey Candela for their anniversary. We did a Barber Pole Candela for an anniversary for a shop in Idaho, a great retailer, great person too. So the horrible story comes here.
No, don't make me cry.
I have a real... So Candela was always a very difficult one. I never touched it because there were maybe 2 or 3 Candelas in the market that I ever liked, period.
Yeah.
And so I didn't feel like I didn't have experience with it, and I didn't feel like I wanted to risk everything doing something like that. I know it's a difficult one. And to give you an idea, those 2 Candela projects, the Smoker's Abbey and the Bolds in Idaho, came at the same time, both for their 4th anniversary. It was a 4th, I think, or 5th. 4th, I think. They basically were very close one to each other, and they both came to us asking, "We want a candela." And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?
And
What the hell is that?"
I can totally see Ian doing that because he's like a hops guy.
Yeah.
And it goes really well with a hops guy. So I could see Ian doing that in Austin.
I can see Ian doing it as well. Yeah.
To give you an idea, to create those two candelas in parallel, for them to be very different, one became a barber pole with broadleaf wrapper, which worked really well. And the other one was 100% candela wrapper for Smoker's Abbey, which was then available in the three different cities. Yeah. But the two of them, from first discussion to actually getting it ready to go to the market, was about a year of work for both of them. Yeah. It was absolutely horrible process.
It's hard. Yeah.
I knew I had no
very many candelas out there because a lot of people don't like working with the young leaf because you don't know what you're going to get because it's not fermented as long.
Well, the process is very different, right? It's something. If you want candela, you have to let the growers know the previous year so they can set that tobacco aside, pick it early, and all this. I mean, it's a very complex process. It was interesting though. It was very interesting. So yeah, we have all those, if you want, one-off projects that we don't count in the portfolio just because it's been projects for friends and stuff like this. But then core-wise, we have somewhere close to 30 SKUs, and with the next 2 to 3 years officially released, right? And within the next 2 to 3 years, we'll probably range in that 45 to 55 kind of SKUs probably in the market.
So excited!
But nice. Yeah, it's all stuff that it's not like we're working on it tomorrow for the day after, right? It's all stuff that was in the books, and just slowly but surely. And we've had delays. Before opening our own factories was very difficult to push new projects or new products out, because you don't control that many things at the end of the day, right? You're dependent. Where when we opened the factory, we could kind of accelerate that process and slowly take back that time that we had, all those things backed up, which are going to come over the next couple of years officially now.
So I'd like to go back and talk about this candela for a little bit, because one of the things that we're trying to do in Leaf and Grain Society is we're trying to retrain the mindset. We all three of us know, and our main followers understand as well. Understand that there's no leaf that's called a Maduro. There's no leaf that's called a Connecticut. There's a broadleaf and a shade, which are actual leaves, and there's no leaf that's actually called a candela. It's a candela because of the process that it goes through. And a lot of people they don't understand it. They think that it's an actual wrapper, it's an actual seed called a candela seed, and it's grown, and this is how it comes out. So
that's the process. Yeah, it's like Maduro, as you said. It's a process. Yeah. Well, Connecticut now is a little different, and then there is broadleaf, and there is regular Connecticut, which are going to be grown as shade most of the time. But you're also going to see it sun grown in Central America. So there is so many different things, and in most cases, about the difference, and that's simplifying, I guess, a simplification we do for the market. Well, we all do, I guess, for the market, just because it's easier to understand. Oh, that's a dark wrapper. We call it Maduro, so it's a Maduro, and you feel more comfortable with it than go into detail and say, it's that seed from that thing, from this, and going through that process that makes it a Maduro. People look at you like, okay, you lost me there, So I think that's why it's sad, but at the same time, it's really a necessity of the market, right?
Yeah, I get it, and I can appreciate that. Where as someone who teaches people, we teach people how to pair based upon the seed, the terroir, the region, and all of that, because all that comes into play in building out the profile and the flavors. If it's a Corojo, if it's a Criollo, if it's a broadleaf, if it's a shade, if it's a if it's a broadleaf that's sun grown or as opposed to partially shade grown. All of these come into the process of it. So, I mean, I remember walking into Michael's and Nick Perdomo was there, and he said, "Hey, Greybeard, what's going on?" And I said, "You know, come to see what you got." He said, "What do you want?" I said, "Recommend something." And so he pulled out one of his 20th anniversaries, and I said, "So tell me about the blend." And he said, "It's a Maduro." And I said, "Come on, Nick." And he looked, "Okay. It's a proprietary Criollo." And no, I'm sorry, it's a proprietary Corojo seed that we've put together and grown in Nicaragua. And I said, okay, now that's telling me a little bit more about the profile that I'm going to get on it based upon the region of it. And so what I would love to see is if we can kind of expand that and say, okay, this is a Habano Maduro, this is a Habano Escoto, this is a Habano Natural, this is a Habano, and add that into along with the coloring, because that shade of it, if it's a natural, if it's a Escoto, Maduro, Claro, double Claro, which is the Candela, that's going to tell me more about the kind of profile that we're going to get out of it to be able to pair with.
Well, it usually does, but if you want a Candela, in our case, was a Candela that came from Honduras, that was based on a Criollo. It came from Nestor. There is one of the 2 or 3 other cigars that I really like that specific Candela, that specific Criollo Candela is also used on. And then my thought on it was going a little further than that. Candela, the problem is it's very it's hard to explain. It's very my thought of it is it's one of these tobaccos that if you just slap it on something, it's gonna take over the whole thing, and it's gonna just disrupt the balance throughout the cigar.
Yeah.
You cannot just go. I mean, you're really lucky if you can go and flip, slap it on and say, "Oh, it works." In most cases, it's going to create a shit show.
Right.
So what my thought of it was, I work a lot with Visos. So Viso, for people that don't know, the simplification of the sections on a plant would be Seco the bottom, Viso the center, Ligero the top. There are more details. There is the cortes and everything, and that depends on what plant. And then, for example, broadleaf only has 2 cortes, the other one has 7. It's more complicated.
It's insane.
So,
it's insane.
So making it very simple, and that all depends on where you grow it, who does it, and it just goes all the way. And that's why you have so much diversity.
Yes.
But to make it simple, in most cases, you can go Seco, Viso middle, Ligero top. What I use the most and what I like to work with is Visos, because I feel like Visos have a lot of life in them. It's intense. It's extremely flavorful and aromatic. But it is not too strong and not too mild. It's just intense, right? So working with we have some blends like the Viso Jalapa is 100% Viso. There is not one leaf in there that is not Viso. People always think, you have to put Seco, Viso, Ligero. That's one example. The Black 2 is another example, 100% Viso tobaccos. Now, in the Viso range, you have also certain categories. You have lower priming Visos, higher priming Visos. The higher you go, the thicker the leaf, the richer, the more nutriments it got, the more sun, etc., etc. So you can still play in that range, but that's my range, right? That's what I like to play with. That's what I like to work with. And it also creates some boundaries for me, because a very old Viso, a very young Viso is not going to be good, but a very old Viso might be very plain too. It might have lost a lot of life, right? So I need a certain range. I need a certain I needed to deliver that intensity. That's what I want, because I want to. When I smoke a cigar, what I want is flavor, right? I don't really care about the rest. I want it to be flavorful. Just deliver pour flavor after.
Yes.
The moment you light it to the moment you put it in the ashtray, one flavor.
Exactly.
So that's where I find my little happy place. Now, the thought with Candela was, if I wanted to work with Candela, I would have wanted it when fresh to only very slightly be able to detect the Candela, meaning a little bit of aroma, a little bit of flavor, just a little bit of it, and that's it. And what we came up with was finding visos that had a little bit of richness. That's something I like, that oiliness. It's the best way I have to describe it.
Yeah.
Something that kind of, it doesn't have to feel oily. It just, that thing that coats a little bit, it has a little bit of texture, right? When the smoke comes. That visos like this, I like to work with. And then we need a little bit of spices just to wake it up too, right? Not much, just a little bit. So I work mainly with Criollo too. And I have to be 100% frank. I do not remember that blend entirely. I really don't. I don't remember. I know we have it on paper, and that's why we have Excel sheets and everything after all that time, right?
I was going to say, 30 to 40 facings, how can you remember every single blend? Because every single blend's got so many components, so many parts to it.
You should in most cases, but especially in one-off projects like this, I would have to go back to the file and actually look at what we used. But I know that the initial thought was we needed something that was kind of overpowering, but not excessive. Right. That richness, oiliness, and a little bit of spices behind to tone down the green side, that very herbal, vegetal side of the Candela.
Yeah, it can be extremely, and it does have that Honduras. Like you can, first time I got it, I knew exactly Honduras. You know, I mean, I was able to detect it. But like, I seriously can't get enough of them. It is, you know, it is just like. And someone asked me, they were like, "Why? I'm surprised you're not smoking the Honduras. I mean, the Candela." Yes, I have the Candelas in my humidor, but they're in a different section, and I just got too excited that I forgot about it. But and I want to talk about, this is what I'm excited about, because it's kind of like Greybeard mentioned. We've seen you from the very beginning and seen you grow. And then when you were talking about the factory, you know, getting out there and doing that. And like, I could, like when y'all first started doing that, and then seeing the increase of hiring on people and getting more people, I mean, it just made my heart so happy for y'all, because y'all hustle, you got it, and you completely deserve it. So I want to talk about now about y'all's factory, because because this has been in a process that, because I want to say it's been over a year and a half now.
Been 2 years nearly, actually already the first day of January is going to be the 2-year anniversary of the official opening.
Yeah. So walk through us and talk about the factory, and you know what y'all's plan and all of that exciting news for y'all.
So first of all, I'm really happy we go on that subject, because that's the reason right now. That's, you know, seeing the family grow, coming from kind of being alone in this industry to having the chance to create jobs, you know, to create opportunities for people. We have people that now have worked for us for the 2 years without, you know, going anywhere else or doing anything. They're happy. It's people that left, in some cases, jobs that they had for 18 years, 20 years before that. Because they trusted what we were doing, and they trusted us, and it's people that in these cases, for example, it's people, in some cases, I'll take, for example, the person that is managing our packaging section, Jessica. She is one of the people that taught me how to pack cigars when I first moved to Honduras. And seeing her, seeing her without hesitation.
Like, that is really, really cool.
She just, and there's been a couple of examples like this. There have been people that taught me how to roll. There's been a lot of different examples of these people that were there day one for me, that not only taught me all that, but taught me Spanish at the time because I didn't know Spanish, that decided to jump boats. The minute they learned that we had been starting working and building the factory, that came to us and say, I want to work with you. You know, do you have a position for me? Do you have a job for me? And we were like, holy shit, what is happening? You know? And so what the first thing is to know is I always said, I will never have a factory. That was the first thing.
Never say never.
I always said I was never going to have a warehouse, but that didn't work either. Yeah. The thought was, why try to do something that is that complex, that is that difficult to run, when there are people that are dedicated to that and know what they do? They've been doing it for generations. Why being that idiot that just say, I'll do my own factory, you know? And I always said it. I said, I'm not doing this. It's too dangerous. It just doesn't make sense. And how do you source your tobacco, and who's going to sell to you, and why they're going to sell to you if they could just produce the cigars for you? You know, it's less profitable for them, et cetera, et cetera. And we were, you know, we were at that point where we were starting growing, but quite well, but we started having difficulties because of it, because the factory had other priorities, and it was hard to get our cigars on time, and then you start getting people pissed, and the people that start, you know, liking what you do, they go back to the shop, and then suddenly there is no product anymore, et cetera, et cetera.
Where's my Cadella?
Yeah. But you get people annoyed, right? You get people annoyed, and people won't give you 100 chances. They won't.
Right.
And, you know, there are too many good cigars out there. There are too many great makers, too many great personalities, too many great people that you want to support to, you know, stick with someone that can't provide. And that started becoming a real problem. And we ended up, so 2 years ago, the 6 months before we opened the factory, we lived during a couple of months on the inventory we had, and then nothing, because we couldn't get a cigar. Right. And so I turned to one of the people that was making our cigars, and I was like, look, I need your help. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't continue like this. And he was like, I know. I already talked to Nestor. You can move your production there. No questions asked. And I was like, yeah, I talked to them too. They're doing a production for us now, and I really appreciate this, but is it really a long-term solution? What do we do? And it was one of the best options ever, right? I mean, having him do he did some productions, but having that family do everything in their main factories would have been an amazing solution. But I was like, you know, if we want to go further, we probably not only should try to figure out a way to be 100% safe and be the priority always, which is hard to be the priority when you have people that do, you know, tens of millions of cigars orders, and you come in with, you know, your volumes, imagine you come in with, you know, 1 million cigars a year, and someone else is there sitting and they're ordering 25 million. Who do you think is going to be priority?
Yeah,
25 million.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not very complicated, right? So I was like, I don't know if that's going to be the best. I mean, it was definitely something we were very, very much looking at, but I was like, what else do we have? And so he said, look, we can continue making your cigars the way we do. I was like, yeah, that's not an option. I mean, I really appreciate everything you did, and I would love to, but it's too dangerous. And he's like, well, I can help you open your own. And that was, you know, someone of Nestor's family directly. So I said, okay. I was on the phone. I was actually where I am right now. I went upstairs to Aileen, and I said, look, we need to take a plane. We're going to Honduras. We need to figure something out. And we got to Honduras. It was somewhere end of September, I think end of September, something like this, or early October. I don't remember. And we sat down. We're like, okay, let's do this. And I called Nestor and I said, look, your nephew is helping me there to put this together and do this. He said, as long as it comes from him, we'll support you. As long as it's, him making that happen for you, we'll be there.
That's
And
cool.
I said, okay, so perfect. That's a green light. And
Yeah.
that same person was taking a major position with one of the biggest companies in this industry. And he said, look, I'm leaving. I have that big house with a piece of land and everything. Take it, put your make your factory there, make the factory there, build it. And I was like,
Wow.
okay. So took the house, built a building. We built a building on there, and 3 months. It took us 3 months. 3 months, about nearly day for day, and we started.
Yeah.
So built the whole building, put the whole infrastructure, find the whole
Holy
management
crap.
team, find the full first section of the team and everything. And we started 3 months. 3 months in, we started on January
Wow.
3rd, I think, or 6th. We started
Yeah, it was.
producing our own cigars.
And to me, it's like that could have not been more of a green light, to sit
Oh yeah.
there and to get it done that quickly. To me, I'm sitting thinking that's like holy shit. That doesn't just happen. It's not just like that doesn't happen at all. It takes a
No,
long time and a
That,
process.
we had
that's God saying, yes, this is what I want you doing because everything is lining up perfectly.
yeah, we had some of the best people in the industry help us put everything together. They gave us the names of the people we needed to be our management, and it's people from the families that are the management of these people. That's people that were born in Pinar del Rio. Those people know
Yeah.
what they're doing. They were born in tobacco. They work tobacco. That's what they do. And
Yeah.
so those, to give you an idea, our management at the factory is this related to the same family that is management for the Placencia family. So those are the people that run our, daily operations. So people that
Yeah.
we couldn't have found better
Nuh-uh.
support, better people. It has been incredible, and that's why it happened too, right?
Yeah.
And again, you get a family like this. I'll
Hmm.
never have enough good words to describe that whole family, right?
Yeah.
It's something that is not really describable. It's something that they just are extremely special. And
Hmm.
I'll be grateful forever for whatever they did since day one, because they're the one that taught me all the way to help us even nowadays. And the people and I think the most beautiful thing after that, and that's what we started realizing, is in the growth process. It was always great, right? We were like, oh, we kind of participate to some of the jobs that are created. We kind of participate to helping some, in a way or another, people getting paid, right? But
Right.
you get to a point where you don't. It's very blurred. It's very obscure because you can't really quantify that. Now with the factory, that changed everything. It's a family. It's people. We know who works with us. We know that we have about 80 to 100 people working. It just, I said, fluctuates a little bit. It depends of who comes, who moves. There are people that always kind of move around, but they're very stable 80 people basis.
Hmm.
And you know that when you think about this, it's not 80 people that are actually touched by what you do. It's 80 people plus their husband, wife, 80 people plus
Mm-hmm.
their kids. That's all those people that live from that, and you multiply this easily by three. And that just brings so much more reason to why you're doing what you're doing. It's
Hmm.
not just that, oh, I want to make great cigars, I love what I do and everything. But at this point, it's, we go down there, you get hugs, you give hugs, people see you, they're laughing, they're happy. You see the same people over and over, and you kind of just more and more see it as the real value of what you're doing and not anything else.
I think it's a great testament. I mean, everything that you talked about here is a great testament to what this culture is behind cigars. It's beyond the cigar.
Right.
It's beyond this, because I mean, I've been smoking on this one for just a little over an hour, and I'm nubbing it. And when I'm done with it, it's done. It's gone. But it's everything that you're talking about. It's the family that you have made and the connections that you made with the Placencia family. It's the connections that you've made to where the person, the lady who taught you how to box cigars is now working for you, and she wanted to come work with you.
Yeah.
People coming to you and saying, "Hey, can we come work for you?" Because they believe in what you're doing, and that's the culture of cigars. So we've seen it time and time and time again in all of our shows, and everybody that we've talked to. We're hearing similar stories when it comes to the family, the culture, the camaraderie, the connection that we get, and it's got to be. I mean, it's the cigars play a huge part in that. And that's what we love about it. That's why we do it. We all do what we do. Different sides of the industry here. That's why we're all doing what we do here.
Well, and you took my thought for that, but I want to also kind of say, it talks about your character and your wife's character, because I don't want to forget her, because I know she stays behind. She's always, she's always behind the scenes, but she's an amazing woman. I know that she comes up with ideas. She's quiet. She's soft-spoken. But she is a beautiful person, just outside and inwardly. It's just, she glows. Like when she walks around, I don't know if she knows that, but she glows. But the fact that they're willing to leave what they have speaks to y'all's character as a couple in this industry, that they want to come work for y'all. I mean, I just think it's beautiful. And I think it's amazing that y'all went back to Honduras to kind of like where y'all met and where everything. So I think it's one of those, I'm sorry, I'm going to get girly on y'all. It's one of those romantic, things. And I just think that's really, really cool.
I'm thinking, as a single guy, maybe I need to make a trip down to Honduras.
Guarantee some good things can happen. We've been traveling back and forth all these years to Honduras, right? She was born and raised in Danlí, in that city. That's, she's literally from there, and that's always we kind of talk about it from time to time. To me, it has some importance, at least. Being a kid from that city, going back there, building something like this, and I think being able to provide for the city you were born in, raised in, is probably much more than, it's a lot. I mean, it means a lot for me, but I was adopted by that city. I didn't grow up there. She did. So going back there and creating all this is something. And as you said, she's always in the background. She doesn't like the spotlight. She actually, every time Brian tries to throw her under the spotlight from time to time, but she gets very angry. She doesn't like it at all.
Yeah, I
but
can
she's
tell
always behind. Always.
Yeah, I can tell she doesn't like that attention, but she's such a beautiful person and intricate throughout this whole process. And and she's probably gonna be like, "Why did y'all talk about me?" I can totally see her doing this. And one thing that I have to give kudos out to is like cigar art out in Dallas, because I know that y'all are just like a stone's throw away from it.
Yeah.
But I've loved, one thing I love about it is they've embraced y'all. They've taken y'all in, kind of a thing, and that is such a cool place to go. If you're ever in Dallas, go down to Cigar Art. And they carry. That's where I have to go sometimes to pick up my stuff or call and say, "Hey, can y'all ship it to me?" I mean, and you even have some people that, you know, are doing your social media and all that stuff. And it's just like you have a beautiful family, like in the Dallas area and Honduras. And then also back in Switzerland, because like I know that you're international. And so I kind of wanted to touch about on that one. And, you know, it's kind of, you said it, and I've never really thought about it. You know, it's like translating things like in Chinese or in German or in Swedish, or, you know, I've never really thought about that.
Yeah, it was a necessity for us, right? The first steps of Cavalier were in Switzerland. Switzerland is a tiny, tiny country. The market is pretty solid because of the history, but it's not the U.S. I mean, not even remotely close to the U.S. So, you know, a lot of brands, something to look at is a lot of brands originate here in the U.S.
Right. Yeah.
Which is amazing because the proximity from, take Central America and the U.S. makes that kind of interaction very simple. For Europe, it's very different. And out of curiosity, I really recommend you guys to have a look because Europe has its own little micro universe of cigars, like brands that are really native to Europe and only found in Europe. In some cases, even a handful of countries down there, if not less. And so, and there are some really, really nice products. It's actually worth looking, but it forces you to kind of think, okay, we need to go elsewhere and add up because just here is not it's not viable the same way as you look at the U.S. So obviously that was a big thing for us, and look at all the countries and everything, but then you were talking about Sweden, Swedish. I'm actually supposed to go to Norway. I was supposed to go in like August, but we couldn't deliver on time. So August would have been fantastic for Norway. Now I'm going next Monday. I'm flying back to Europe. I'm there about 2 months, I think, and I'm supposed to go to Norway, so the northern part of Europe in the middle of winter.
Get a heavy jacket. You can't wear a hoodie, Sebastian.
This is going to be absolutely horrible. I was saying it's cold here. Holy, this is going to be a rough.
You're gonna freeze your ass off.
Oh yeah. But it's beautiful because you get those relationships, through the countries. We have people that we see only at trade shows. Our distributors in Korea, for example, that we only see at trade shows. But it's always amazing. You see those guys, they show up, you talk a little bit, and you have that twice, probably about twice a year, Dortmund and PCA, maybe sometimes TP. You have that interaction with them. They come all the way from Korea to those trade shows to have that interaction, talk business, and then go back. And those things are very unique when you think about it, right? Indonesia, China, was Singapore very soon, and so on. But then again, you look at Angola. Angola is another one in Africa in this case. You have those language barriers. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting. It's been a challenge when we started, but I also think that this is very enriching on a personal level.
So, how many languages do you speak?
So I was born with French and German. I learned English at school and learned Spanish in Central America, and then there is a kind of fourth and a half kind of language, which is Swiss German, which is is very different from German. It's a little more than dialects, right? It's nearly languages to their own because it's so different from the original base of German, but it's still kind of considered as part of the German side of things. Yeah, so 4.5, I'd say.
Which language was the hardest to learn?
English.
Spanish.
Oh wow!
I would have guessed it was English. Now I'm trying to learn Spanish using the Babbel app, and I'm learning a few things, but not being able to talk Spanish with anybody because my dog just does this number.
So I actually have to rectify what I was saying. The worst language, period, to learn is French. French is an absolute nightmare. Nightmare.
Really?
But growing up with it, I don't really think of it. But it's from far the most terrible language to learn. Now, Spanish, I say Spanish because I did try to learn Spanish at school, but I was kind of the kind of student that didn't really go to classes, didn't really care, and etc. Whatever the kids are not supposed to do, I was doing.
Why does that not surprise me?
Yeah, that didn't work out really well for me. So I didn't learn it. It was very difficult. It's the first language that I really had barriers to learn. It was, and then it completely changed when I moved to Central America because there was a sense to why learning Spanish because people don't speak English. People don't speak English, so you have to figure out a way to learn communication, and it was the best way to learn the culture. It was the best way to live there, to become, to really become part of the culture, learn the culture and everything. So once down there, it was very quick. It took about a month to be more or less fluent. But that's normal because you're engaged into that 24/7 Spanish.
And that's what, and I've talked about this. When I was in 6th grade, I was enrolled in Spanish. And my brother had lived in Spain and Chile, and he was fluent in Spanish. And so when he came, his lungs collapsed, and my dad made him move back to America, and he had to stay with us. My dad made a rule: no English in the house. So I was submerged in Spanish. Anything I had, my dad couldn't understand anything I was saying because my dad didn't speak Spanish, which was hilarious. So my brother and I would be talking about what was for dinner and all this stuff, and all of a sudden we'd say "Papa," and he'd be like, "What? What are y'all saying about me?" And we're like, "No habla inglés, lo siento mucho," and he would just roll his eyes at us. Yeah. So I think you have to be submerged in order to pick up something.
I've only taken 2 languages in school, and it was in college, and I took Hebrew and Greek, and that was Bible college, and we never spoke either of it, but we had to translate from the Bible in Hebrew and Greek, and trying to learn Spanish now, like I said, I mean, it's a challenge. My running joke is that I don't speak any other languages, spoken languages, but I speak 9 different languages in they're all programming languages.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
So I want to ask, because you were talking about the art designs and everything. So for y'all's new prospector and everything, so who comes up with the designs of y'all's bands and the packaging and all of that? Is that your wife? Or
sorry, I cut you.
No. Go ahead.
So I said there is, it's all creativity. So it's like making cigars, like the designs themselves, the reason why to me it's more of an art process than anything else, right? It's not a product. It's really like creating art. And it's always, there is no one dead set way of doing things. We don't have one dead set way. We have to launch a product. We're gonna do this. We have a sheet. No, it has to come from the heart, right? But it's usually the process. I said the same way as with tobacco. It's kind of an exchange. It's time. It's ideas that come and go, and it's that communication between us, and then we come up with something that, hey, that's really sticking with me. Can we do something about it, and so on. And then so we create concepts, if you want, things that have a reason to be for us. And then after that, Aileen does like the she brings the idea to life, if you want. She's the one
Yeah.
that it's, for example, she's the inner circle. It's been, I think, about a year process, just the design talking,
Wow.
not talking about the cigars, nothing, just the visuals, the reasons how we're gonna do this, and we have the early designs all the way through the last one, and you look the way it made, the
Wow.
evolution until you get to the final product. It nearly has nothing. It still has the essence, the
Uh-huh.
reason, but visually it's not at all even remotely close to what the concept was. And
So,
that's
so
always the thing.
And that's one thing. Well, I'm sorry. That it's like it's so different and so vast. Like everything that y'all produce, it's not like the other. Like you talk about that, then you talk about the odd job, then you talk about the prospector. Like none of those. They're all different and unique, which is really cool because some people kind of stick with the same theme throughout. And y'all aren't. Y'all are just like, and that's what I love about it. Is like that's why I was asking. I was like, it is so vast and it's so different, and it's really cool.
now,
It
now
has to, right? If you
I'm,
don't.
I'm curious on the inner circle. I noticed as I got down to the nub that there wasn't the gold diamond in the wrapper. Why is
Yep.
that?
So it's actually what I just lit right now. The inner circle was the first step into a new chapter of the Cavalier, the family, the way it's now. There's going to be other steps in that direction over the next year, pretty intensive steps. The thing is, Cavalier, the way it is, the core, the heart of what it is, the gold diamond is mature now. It's moving on its own pace. It's getting some additions, but it has its own world where it lives in, right? Visually,
Yeah.
messaging. There is always ways to work with tobacco, but working just with the tobacco side is fine, but it's a little plain for me. I need that extra like thought for it, right? And so the thought was when we came up with Inner Circle, it was the concept, the idea was already older, but
Right.
it really developed and came back to our hands, and that's where we started working on it, and where Aileen really did the visuals and everything about a couple of months after we launched the factory, because suddenly things took another dimensions. We realized the ways that Cavalier had gone. We realized the people that supported us, the retailers, the
Mm-hmm.
consumers, the family growing, the rollers, the people in Empaque, the man, whoever was part of what it became, the press, everybody that gave us a hand or accepted us in this industry when they had no reason to, because we were not from this industry. It kind of hit us, and we said, we need something to kind of commemorate that, something to express ourselves and express this and express Cavalier in other words than Cavalier. And
Right.
so the gold diamond had to go. It had to go because it was creating too many boundaries. It was putting us in the box, and it was time to also show another face. And Inner Circle was that, right? It's
Right.
our inner circle is everybody that joins us now, that joins us tomorrow, that joined us in the past, everybody that accepted us early on, later on, doesn't matter. And that's a little bit the thought behind it. And we thought that the name, the the name, the concept had enough depth to
Yeah.
stand on its
I
own.
loved it.
Oh, it's a
Yeah.
phenomenal
Yeah.
cigar, and I gotta say, just kind of bring it a little bit about back into the twisted pair, because we're all about pairings. The Inner Circle paired beautifully with the wine, with my wine, just both going from the cigar into the wine and the wine into the cigar, bringing out some beautiful sweet notes while still keeping some of those creamy notes that the Honduran tobacco is known for. Still having some of those earthy notes that I picked up right off the bat of it. Just a beautiful pairing, beautiful cigar. People haven't tried it yet. They've got to try the Inner Circle. It's phenomenal. Great job with it.
Thank you. It's actually a fun thing because we had that idea of the concept and everything. We had that idea of passing another message and a new brand under the portfolio, right? Not just a new line, but new brand, really. And so it went through, obviously, the visuals. As you can see, it's different. There is no gold diamond. It's much more classic with other little touches. For example, something I don't really talk about, but the little thing that looks like a crown on there
Yes.
is actually pretty funny. It was I was drawing an M. The reason for the M.
I was gonna say, okay, what's the M?
The reason for the M is it's my second name, and that second name, Maximilian, comes from one of my grandparents, my grandfather, one of my two grandfathers. And he was someone that, for some reason, I never really realized when I grew up, but later on, I realized that he left some kind of mark with me. He left some kind of something in my life. And so without, putting his name or doing an homage, or we're doing a homage cigar to him or something like this, that was maybe a little more old school. I just wanted to put an M and not really go over the Y or anything, just put that M. And that M turned, when I drew it, into a kind of crown. I was like, that's pretty cool. So we kept that, and that became the main thing on the main band, right? The first primary band. You can find it on the box too and everything. There is a lot of symbolism in Inner Circle, and the future releases that are going to come under that specific brand all have symbolism about things that touch some of us or one of us in the Cavalier family.
And awesome. And that's the thing that, because we've had, I love the fact that, okay, because I was wondering where the M came from. I'm like, okay, what's the M? I know it's a crown, but I saw the distinct M. So I was like, okay, what's the M stand for? So I'm glad that you touched on that. But that's one thing that I love about this industry is hearing those stories. Kind of like, we had Luciano on, and the cigar that paid homage to his mother. I mean, it's a beautiful story, and it brought his daughter into it. And I think whenever it's personalized, you remember it more. And I think the smokers can identify, because then they start remembering. Okay, I remember when I was with my grandfather and we did this and we did this. And we always, and Greybeard and I always talk, there's always a psychology about the cigars that you smoke. And for me, it's kind of it depends on my mood, because everybody's like, oh, what do you smoke? And my answer is always, it depends on my mood. And for me, a lot of times when I want comfort, it's I go to a cigar that, and Greybeard's going to say that I'm going to go to a Candela because it reminds me of my grandpa going and visiting his farm, visiting him on the dairy farm with the hay. So that's why I smoke the Candela. And it's just kind of one of those things. And I think it's it becomes more sentimental and it becomes more special when you smoke the cigar. I don't think that people realize at the time when they're smoking and they've heard the stories before and they're like, oh, I can identify with this. So it makes it a lot more personal whenever those sentimental stories are added. So yeah. I think that's really neat.
I wanted to, something that just made me think, and it's, I'm just jumping a little bit away from what we were saying right now, but you guys were talking about educating consumers, right? Educating the people that follow what you guys do and everything. And one thing that I always noticed, and I noticed it because we don't produce our cigars out of Nicaragua like most people. Honduras is our home, and that's where we do our stuff. The reality, I think one important message that I have is the origin in cigars, in most cases, really does not have that much importance. We produce our cigars in Honduras, but this cigar has tobacco from Nicaragua, from Honduras, from the DR, from the US. Some of our cigars don't even have Honduran tobacco. The Viso Jalapa, for example, is 100% Nicaraguan Puro.
Yeah.
So the origin, that's something that really matters. The origin, as we are proud to use tobacco from Honduras, and Jamastran is one of the most beautiful valleys. It's an amazing growing land for tobacco, and a lot of people use it. But if I had one message to pass today, it would be, don't only think about the origin of the product, the factory, where it was made, as where the tobacco is from, because in most cases, this is pretty wrong. It's usually a blend of different countries, different areas, and especially in areas like Honduras and Nicaragua, it's very true for that block. It's two countries that are sticking together, that have areas that grow tobacco that flow from one side to the other side. And it doesn't really matter. It's just probably just a message for people to open their minds, right? Nicaraguan cigars have in a lot of cases, tobacco is from Honduras. In some cases, U.S. tobacco, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Dominican tobacco, Ecuadorian tobacco, a lot of different areas. In the same way as we do in Honduras, yes, we use Honduran tobacco, but we use a lot of Nicaraguan tobacco. Our base is usually Honduras and Nicaragua, and then we work around it, right? So I think that's something very important for the consumers to understand, is don't be stuck on where it was made, because in most cases it doesn't really represent what it is going to give you.
I want to say we need to shout that out, because what he just said was gold.
Yep, that's a mic drop, golden mic drop moment. And what I love that you just said that, because that just reiterates and just emphasizes things that we have been teaching. Of the only requirement to call a cigar a Honduran or a Nicaraguan or Dominican cigar is that it's got to be rolled there. If it's rolled there, you can call it a Honduran, and it has zero Honduran tobacco in it. Now, when it's a Puro, then it's all of the tobacco comes from that particular region. But like you said, you have a Nicaraguan Puro that you roll there in Honduras.
Yeah, and in other cases, incredible too. A Puro is a different thing, right? A Puro really means it's from one country. In some cases, even one area, but that's a tricky one. One country, let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, when you look at Nicaragua and Honduras,
definition. The definition has changed. I want to say
it has evolved
in the last couple of years.
There
you go. It has evolved. There you go.
And I forgot what I was going to say. So moving on.
That was my little 2 cents of the night.
No, and it was great 2 cents on that. But I mean, and I think that it's kind of, it's been, for me, it's been an exciting journey that y'all have been on, and to see y'all grow. And it's just like, I cannot be, and I don't know why I'm like, I can't be more proud, but I mean, seriously, it's kind of like, I mean, it's kind of like when y'all started expanding, and then when y'all got your, when y'all went to Honduras and opened up your factory, I was just like ecstatic about that. So, I mean, just to see the growth that y'all have made from first meeting y'all, it has been a beautiful journey, and I can't think of a more deserving people than you and your wife and everybody that y'all have involved, because I truly believe that y'all deserve it.
It's exciting. I mean, as we're both traveling around, and whenever we travel around, we hit different cigar lounges. It's exciting to see cigars from our friends. You know, so going in and seeing into the lounge and seeing Cavalier Genevieve cigars sitting in the lounge, and seeing Noel Rojas cigars in the lounge, or seeing warfighters, people that we consider our friends, and their cigars are there. And so it's exciting for us to see your growth, because it's like we're living that growth with you.
Yeah.
You were so one little thing for the future, and on the side, you were asking about the gold diamond. I was telling you about what is happening, the evolution that is happening. So Cavalier is always going to be Cavalier the way people know it. There's always going to be the gold diamond, and we're adding onto that, and we're working on new exciting projects. But if you want to see a new face or a different face of what Cavalier is, Inner Circle is a good way to go. But also keep an eye out for next year. So next year is going to be a fairly dedicated year to very creative projects of ours, stuff that we've had a lot of fun in some cases working on, and others that are a lot deeper for us. So there's going to be lighter things, and then other things that are more intense for us. But I think it's if you like that creative side of things, keep an eye out. It's starting early on next year and going through the whole year. You're going to see pretty different kind of faces of who we are and what we do, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. I hope everybody enjoys that, because we really enjoyed that journey. We really do.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see what you've got coming out, because everything you've come out with so far has just been
phenomenal,
off the hook good. Going back to one of your original blends in the Cavalier White, and before we jumped on the show, when we were back behind the scene talking, we were talking about how wine is very difficult to pair with. And I paired now 2 cigars, the LE 2022, and it's going beautifully with the wine. But your white, on our 10th anniversary, we did our 10th show, we did champagne, and we paired your Cavalier White with champagne, and champagne is extremely difficult to pair a cigar with, because you have the flavors that get exploded in your mouth as from the bubbles, from the carbonation of it, or of the wine, and then you have that bold dryness that's in that wine, plus the citrus notes. That cigar paired beautifully with it. Have not come up with a pairing with any of your cigars that I have gone and said, nope, this one's not working.
No, I appreciate that. If you want to have fun, sorry,
yes.
Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. What's your fun? Because I was just gonna say, my rye was phenomenal, and I paired 2 different ones. I paired the Black USA, that one.
Yeah.
And it's phenomenal. Then I did I don't even know what this is bad. I don't even know what it was, the Cavalier Geneve Underground, this one that you did, and I'm just gonna I even brought this package down, because let me tell you, if I can find it now on my thing, y'all, if y'all don't know, if you don't follow me, you will see Cavalier all over this, but I haven't opened this pack yet, and the reason is.
You want to sell it?
No, I'm going to keep it, because it's thanks for the love, 2 red, smoke gold, stay gold. And this is kind of my little thing is kind of to see your journey. I don't want to open this, and I know it sounds so corny, and this is when I get kind of womanish. I rarely get like this, but this is kind of my journey from when y'all first started to see where you are expanding, because it's been a beautiful journey, and this is kind of my reminder for y'all. I know that sounds
I
corny,
appreciate that.
but there you go. But now,
The
what are you gonna say?
Yeah, I was gonna say if you wanna there's something with the white. Try if you're half daring, try a red port. If you're really daring, try a white port.
Okay, let me tell you, I just
Vintage
killed my
ideally.
bottle of white port, and you're just now telling me this. So let me tell you, I had white port for the first time a couple, like, I killed the bottle. It is phenomenal. I love red port, and Greg Freeman got me on red port. And then the white port, I was like, holy cow. Now that
Yep.
you're saying it with the white, I'm going to say it, holy fuck. So we do have a question for you, Sebastian. It
Yes.
says, what is your favorite Cavalier that you like to smoke with what dram? With what drink?
With what? Sorry.
With what dram? With what drink? Spirit.
Drink.
What is your favorite pairing of your cigars?
That's very difficult. Quite as you said, it really depends on the mood and the day and everything. And I've been smoking. It's a little tricky because I've been smoking a lot of concepts and things and evolution of projects lately and different things. But if I go to released products, um, I think a very straightforward thing would be a black two, just a regular black two Robusto, maybe a Robusto Gordo. With the Toro works pretty well too, but Robusto Gordo because of the drink.
This sounds like the
Where
perfect size.
I would just go with some espressos. I like espresso. I like coffee. Um, I like it intense too, and I think the darkness of the black two, the San Andres tobacco from Mexico, and that we proudly process ourselves, by the way, I think
Wow.
fits amazingly with not a dark roast, something that is like medium roast espresso.
roast,
So you have
yeah.
that
Creamy.
very like strong, like intense extract, but that is not burned, right? Something that is still
Right.
very flavorful is going to give you some. If you find really good coffee, you're going to have some like fruity notes in there and everything. And if you can do that, or a method coffee with a black two Robusto, I think it's a beautiful way to start the morning.
Okay, what's the missus? What's her go-to?
What's your what? My
What's the missus
Alien, yeah.
go-to? Yes, what's
So
her go-to?
Alien smokes or tends to go for milder cigar, usually flavorful but milder. Um, she used to smoke a lot of white, very, very, very much white series. It has evolved. She smokes a little bit of everything, but it's hard to answer for someone else. But I know that I've seen her jump on whites. She actually was behind the Medio, the 3.5 by 58. She was behind that kind of shot. So I would probably without too much fear. Oh, that was noisy. Pretty probably without too much fear, say white Medio, yeah. And I
So,
saw a question about smoking something that is not mine.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm jumping in like this
No, go
to
ahead.
not miss
I'm
that
glad
one.
you did because that's where I was going.
I actually love that because something to note is that yes, we make cigars and everything, but we smoke cigars, right? I love to smoke cigars from other people. I'm fascinated by other manufacturers because they work very differently from what we do and things that I wouldn't even know how to do. So I really like to smoke different things. Um, one that well, there is a handful that come to mind, a good handful, but one that I've been smoking and that I also love the people behind it, behind the cigars, would be okay, one cigar that marked me a lot was the Morphine Lancero from Black Label, right?
Oh
From
yeah.
James and Angela.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yes,
yeah.
Fantastic
Angela,
people.
yes.
Very different way to approach tobacco to what we do. But there's a lot of people I would love to mention, right? But they are, I think, a great group of people too. Both of them are amazing. I
Yeah.
think they're doing a very unique work job, the way they're doing things, and I
Mhm.
like the image. I like the cigars. I like everything about it. I like
Yeah.
everything about it, and I like most of what they do very much.
Yeah, and it's
So
funny because like those are my top two that I go to. You and Angela and James. Yeah.
I like to hear it.
so for NFT 22, you collaborated with Edgar Hoyle with
Yeah, Osak.
for that for that presentation, which was a phenomenal cigar. Another great
And that came out
collaboration.
of left field. And we're gonna say we had Edgar on, and he said he was collaborating with somebody. He wouldn't give us the name. He wouldn't tell us anything about it. So we're sitting on pins and needles, right? And then to like open it and see that it was you, like it blew my mind. Greybeard, did you think it was going to be Sebastian?
I had no idea and didn't know it was Sebastian until I saw the gold leaf. And remember, we even talked about it. It's like, holy crap, he collaborated with Sebastian on it.
Yes, totally shocked. So you've got to give us the details of that.
So Edgar became a friend through the years, right? I think I can honestly say a friend is he's someone a person that I like a lot on a personal level. He's someone that I think is fascinating. He lived so many
Yes.
different lives. Absolutely fascinating person.
Yeah.
And that's something I like, right? There is some kind of mystery about him.
Yes.
He's done so many different things. He's a fantastic photographer. He's
Yeah.
he's lived so many different things. So every time you see him, every time you sit down with him, you learn a new life. You know, you learn a new story. And like, when did you do that?
Hell? Like, yeah. When
How
the
is
fuck
that?
did you do that?
How old are you? How the hell did you do that many things? You know, it's
He's
a
like
little
a
bit.
cat.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. And I think this is fascinating about him, and he's someone that I said I appreciate on a personal level, and collaborations are very difficult because you're true to what you do, and it's hard to mix that with someone else that is true to what they do, and then there is a lot of different things to take in consideration, et cetera, et cetera. We at the end of the day we still run businesses, right? We love what we do, but we run businesses. So it was but with him it was pretty much a no-brainer because he needed products made, and we had the factory, and we had gone through something similar to what he was going through. He was having some troubles getting product at the time, and he was like, hey, would you be okay to do something? Would it be okay if we do something together? And him being a friend and everything, it was oh yeah, why not? That'd be a great thing. And the other, I think, thing that aligned with him was it was that exclusive for Underground for the yearly event. It was a cool thing to work on together. He, with his Mexican roots, I always love to work with San Andres, which is Mexican tobacco, which he works a lot with too, and he even grows now.
Like he's a master of it.
Yeah,
I'm
and
gonna say he's a master.
that's one of the other tobaccos. So San Andres we process, Jalapa we process, Esteli we process. There's a couple of tobacco we process, but San Andres has always been a very key tobacco to what we do, and obviously for him too. So it kind of was an obvious direction to go towards, right? And we started working from there, and the question of how it was going to be packaged wasn't really 100% clear at the time because it was mainly a hey, let's do something. Yeah, we can do something together for Underground for you. This way, you also have a product and you're on time. And then we were like, well, why don't you put your band, and why don't we also put the diamond under there? And it was kind of a patchwork of things that happened naturally. Exactly that cigar, and then
there it is.
Yeah.
There's a little, it peaked.
Mhm.
And like when I saw that peaking, I was like, holy fuck. I knew it was going to be a great cigar. That was exactly what came in my mouth. And I was like, oh my God, that is a gold diamond underneath this. And y'all were across from each other. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, it was just like, that's what it was for me.
Yeah, he's someone that worked with different people in this industry, and I have to say that, you know, for me it was a very like it was a more of a personal question than anything else at that point. It was, you know, working with a friend on a project for at the time for that exclusive. It just was the right thing to do. It was fair, and
Yeah.
it was a fun project. And he, you know, he's a great person. It's just what it is. He's a fantastic person, fantastic personality. So it was a fun project to work on with him. But and yeah, and the San Andres came, you know, as a no-brainer. It was like, okay, that's gonna be fun now. Yeah.
Is there anybody else that you want to collaborate on a cigar with?
There is. So we've never approached anybody to collaborate with them. There's been a couple of things that have been working in the background. We'll see. I don't want to mention anybody specific because it's been back and forth in my mind for, you know, a while now, but it's just it has to be natural. So for now,
Yeah.
no. But there is definitely people that I would be extremely interested to work with, and just because of how different we work in some cases, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna say this. I mean, I've said it already. I'm just excited to see what unfolds for y'all in the next couple years. Excited about the new projects that you kind of hinted at. And I'm excited to kind of hear the background stories of that. I think that's going to be something that's going to be beautiful. Because I mean, a lot of times whenever we know the story behind something, and it doesn't have to go into detail, but if we know it's in the middle, I think it means more to cigar smokers. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think it's kind of, it puts that human touch to it.
Yeah, it definitely
100%.
does. And the community is always excited hearing about, you know, even if we don't get the details. I know all of our viewers are, you know, get real excited about hearing what may be coming out, and we appreciate you letting us know, you know, some things you know, some things to expect in 2023 is, you know, as we wrap up 2022, seeing great things from you and gonna see great things coming from you in 2023. Congratulations on all of your growth. The factory, the new facings, the new brand with the inner circle, just absolutely love it.
I appreciate that. That's very kind, and I appreciate all the kind words and everything. You know, all the support is at the end of the day, that's what makes everything possible, right? You can't by yourself, you can do whatever you want, but at the end of the day, if you know, if it has to go somewhere, it has to be thanks to the other people, not thanks to yourself or anything. So it's something that means a lot to us. Again, especially not being from this industry and not having any reason to expect anybody to even support us. You know, the fact that people did and continue to do and brought us to where we're at is everything. That's really everything.
That's what it's all about.
Well, and then we had one other question. Oh, well, it was funny. There was a question that says, if you've ever gone fishing with Edgar, I would hate to go fishing with Edgar because he catches like 1,000 fish in one day. It's ridiculous. It's like he's Jesus and he throws out his net.
Yeah.
And then he says he's smoking his third Cavalier cigar for the evening.
Oh wow!
And he's like, it's so good. Everyone he's smoked, he says it's been amazing. And then he's like, is your wife doing any blends in the future? Will she do any blends in the future?
So a little while back, Brian and I, well, it was Brian mainly, but then I
love
had to join.
Brian.
Yeah, I kind of had to, join him on that. Threw her under the bus, right? She's been part of a lot of blends and decisions and things. But he kind of wanted her to do. I never pushed towards that direction because she never wanted to be the face of anything. Again, just due to what she does, she likes to
Be in the
be on the
background.
backside.
Yeah.
But he kind of did something there, so you might see some things happening directly related to Aileen. We'll see. We'll see.
Oh, that's going to be exciting. Can't wait to get a hold of some of those cigars and do some pairings with them for sure.
Yeah, so that's exciting. And that's
It's,
even more to the growth. That's beautiful.
Just because of what I said right now, I might have to sleep on the ground, not in the bed.
Maybe she's not watching. Maybe she has her AirPods in and watching something else.
She usually kind of as a ghost watches stuff.
I was going to say, is she off to the side over there right now, watching and listening?
She's not next to me, but she usually, when I go up, she's usually, oh yeah, I'll listen to her. If she does stuff and just listens to it, so I'm probably in trouble.
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
And if it's not right now, it's going to be later.
Sorry. I'm just excited because I know she's always been in that background, and I know she wants to stay in that background.
Yeah.
And she's always wanted, and I totally respect that. But for me, it's exciting to see her growth as well. Even though she's been in the background, I've seen her grow, and it's just beautiful. And especially as other women in this industry, when we look to women, it's like I think of her, even though she's in the background. So it means a lot that she's going to do something. So hopefully that will save you from sleeping on the ground.
Hopefully, Elsie. No, she. It's always a little bit the same thing. Where again, she's been part of several things. The media at the time, she initiated that. She rebalanced the cigar and that size and everything. But it was always a question of making something, having to. What she doesn't want is have to talk about it, have to have people ask her questions at trade shows and stuff. She'd rather just orientate people onto what to do, or help them do their purchase decisions and everything. But she doesn't want to have to explain why she did something, right? She just doesn't like that. So that's, I think, being the most difficult part of the whole conversations and everything for her, because it always comes down to that. Yeah, but I don't want that. I don't want anybody to come to me and ask me stuff the way they ask Brian, they ask you, or that, or she's like, I don't want anything to do with this. So that's usually, but there are things there might be a first step toward that direction next year, might be, and
but you and Brian
maybe more later.
I'm going to say you and Brian can talk for her, because here's the mindset of a woman. I did it because I wanted to do it, so therefore I did it, and I don't need to explain it. Just accept it. That's the mindset of a woman. That is how we think. And if you think about your relationships with women, it's kind of, we say, do what we say, do what we said, don't ask us, just do it. That's how we think.
And there is, I mean, it's I think the reality is she's been part of a lot of things, right? She just never has been talked about as being that much part of it. Again, just by her own decisions, right? That's really the way she's comfortable. But no, everything that is on the market, everything that is in the works, every single thing that happened since the early days has been.
She's been a part of.
She's been a part of, yeah.
I think for those who know y'all, know that about her. Does that make sense? I mean, if you know y'all, she's always been there, and she's always been like the biggest supporter, the biggest thing,
Oh.
which has been amazing.
There
So
wouldn't
another
be
question,
any of that. There wouldn't be any of that if she hadn't been there. Yeah.
we wouldn't have a gold band.
No, none of it. None of it. But yeah, no, she knows what she likes in tobacco. She knows her stuff, right? She just does it a different way. Let's put it that way. But yeah,
And
there
I
might be
respect it.
some little distractions next year. I can't say much about it, but
Yeah, I'm
there's going to
excited
be
for
one or
next
two
year.
things that might look a little different because of that next year.
I'm excited. So, what do you have to tell a new person that wants to start their own cigars? If you had to give advice to a new person, what would you give them?
Huh. That's a difficult one too. You know,
He's stroking that beard.
yeah,
He's contemplating.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna do my beard too.
you're the same. Well, first of all, it's a business, right?
Right.
Yeah, you get into it because you like it, but it's a business. You have to look at it as a business because there is too many reasons to fail if it's just I want to do a cigar, then I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a cigar because I want to do a cigar. Um, if that's really what someone wants to do, the only thing I can say is get involved, right? Learn. Don't just expect to get a cigar made by someone and then go from there because that's really risky. Know your tobacco, at least learn the basics, right? Go to factories. You have to, it's too easy nowadays to pick up a phone or send an email and get a cigar made. That's the problem. So if you really want to do it, and I guess that if you want to do it, you want to last in this industry, you have to take it seriously and take the steps in the right order. Start with the beginning. Start with learning and understanding what tobacco is, what cigars are. You have to go down there. You can't do it from Germany. You can't do it from the U.S. It's just not, in my opinion. I might, it's there is not one truth. There is never just one truth in life, right? But in my opinion, if you want to do it correctly. Go down
Well,
there. It's a question of respect to yourself and to the people who are going to make those cigars for you. To the people who are going to smoke those cigars from you. Just make sure to understand what you're doing and then run it as a business. Don't run it. Just don't imagine that because you like smoking cigars, you're going to make a cigar and you're going to, you know, be a successful cigar business this way. That's not the way it works. It's a very, very competitive market. So go through the process.
and we're seeing that ourselves. I mean, we have our own cigar, leaf and grain. We call it the LNG,
Mm-hmm.
and Noel Rojas, did it for us. So we're basically white labeling it. He's allowing us to put our label on it and brand it as ours.
Mm-hmm.
But we're seeing that as, and we'll never be a leaf and grain cigar line like Cavalier and Rojas and the blends. That's not our business model. Our business model is around the education, around the media and and building up along that way. But having a cigar as far as a revenue stream, to build up capital to bring in for us as kind of like a side gig is something that we do want to do. And we're seeing exactly what you're talking about. And that's why next year we plan to go down and go to a factory and, go to Rojas or go, if we end up not going with Rojas as a factory and getting into the blends. Red and I and our other partner, Matt, Spice Man, we know our tobacco quite well, because that's what we teach. We studied it intensely, but haven't been into that level of it. And we're seeing that we need to go into that level of it to bring our cigars out to that next level.
Well, and the thing is, there is a lot, and again, that's why there is no one truth, right? It all depends of what the mindset is, what you want to do about it,
Mm-hmm.
right? What is the end game of what you're doing? in your case, it's also different. You guys have been involved around people in the industry. You've made friends there, and you're present. You do some kind of new age press in a way. Doing I don't know how to really formulate. I never really know. You're doing a podcast, those kind of things, which is new age press if you want.
Right.
You have that communication and everything, and then you make a cigar on the side, as you said. If it's a revenue stream, a different thing. It's part of a brand that is not. It's not. You're not just doing a cigar brand, right? You have your leaf and grain brand, which is the communication, which around you build also a product. That's a very different approach to the whole thing. I still recommend, just for the beauty of it, being down there, because you see the faces, you see the people.
Right.
It's so beautiful, but it's a different process. For me, it was very different as for other. When you say make a cigar brand, I think about, okay, that's the one thing you do. So that if that's the one thing you do, then it's again a different approach, right? So there's not one truth. That's why. But that if you it depends on the approach and the end game. To me, if you wanna, I know, let's put it that way. I know that if I hadn't gone down there and lived there and worked there, I would never have built the relationships down there, learned about the tobacco, and I would never have been able to find the right people and run, factory and then warehouse and all those kind of things, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the whole. It's just what do you want to do about it. That's at the end of the day, that's the real question.
Okay, so here's something funny. Okay, so at Albert, you look at his little
I know he's like
profile picture there, where and this was part of a bet that he and Red had. He's not a Cowboys fan, and he had to change his picture with a Cowboys jersey on for the period of the month of November, and November's almost over. So he jumps over to YouTube, and he asks this question without the Cowboys jersey. And he said, if you blended a cigar for Leaf and Grain, if you blended a cigar for us, what would it be? But I just wanted to call out that he switched over to YouTube so that his Cowboys jersey wouldn't show up there.
I like it.
No, don't encourage it. No.
That's funny. I like it. It's clever. It's very clever. I don't know what the bet was, but I enjoy the thought process.
Yes. Yes, he was very creative in how he got about that jersey.
It's pretty fantastic.
The bet was when the Cowboys played the Bears. He's a Bears fan, and if the Cowboys won, he would have to promote the Cowboys for the month of November. And he's done a good job of doing that. Got to give heads off to Bert.
And happy.
And Bert, all of the graphics that you've seen coming up to presenting this show with you on with us today were all created by Bert.
I was gonna say, by the way, I didn't have a chance to. I was really excited. It was really cool to see the whole work that had been done. That's a lot of work to do all that, and I appreciate that.
Yes. So he did it. Yeah, he did it.
He did it.
He always knocks it out of the park. He took it way beyond what I could do.
For the cigar thing, well, see, the first question is, if a cigar was made, where would the process start, right? I believe that there are two approaches, right? Someone that comes to you and says, I need a cigar. Okay. Pretty straightforward. No indication. I'll do whatever I want. That's pretty fun. That's pretty easy. Because you can go whatever the direction you want. Now, most cases when people want a cigar, they're probably coming to you. I mean, we produce some cigars at the factory for a couple of friends that have brands, and stuff that is on the market, others that just for projects. And so most of the time when that happens, the people come to us with some kind of demand, right? Some kind of ballpark. So when it comes with a ballpark, it's a complete different process. So yeah, I think it would very much depend. It would very much depend where the conversation started. I look at the color scheme. I look at the grain and everything. Um, Makes me think of something of a nice golden. Yeah, no, that wasn't. Yeah, it was a little blink to the Don't bite me. But a nice golden like Habano wrapper could be very cool just because of
Mm.
the scheme of the colors behind. Maybe a nice something we don't use for ourselves. That's something else. I don't like usually to use when it comes down to other people's cigars. The times we do that. I don't really like to use the tobaccos or the bases that we use because that's very much my little babies, right?
Right.
So in that case, for example, there are tobaccos that we use that we have access to that I use less or that haven't been used yet for my own projects. I could definitely see we have, for example, some beautiful Habano Ecuador wrapper that I don't use that are
Mm.
incredibly beautiful wrappers. Could be some kind of darker Connecticut. I'm not very much. I'm a Connecticut is a difficult one for me, right? But if you find a very Connecticut is for example Connecticut, uh, sun-grown Connecticut or shade depending on where you do it. But a nice Connecticut grown in Amastran in Honduras, for example, is very interesting because you get a wrapper that is not as clean as the Ecuador, has slightly thicker veins and everything, but it also the reality of things is the valley gets a lot of sun, so you get a Connecticut that has a beautiful sweetness behind it that the Ecuadorian doesn't get as much, at least because of the climate, which is different, and the without even talking about the earth. So the wrapper is not as clean, but the flavor is to me much more interesting. For example, so because of the color scheme, the first thing I see is I would go to a like golden color kind of wrapper, I think, and
I
then
like
build
that.
around it.
I think
I
we're going to
like
have to talk offline.
yeah, and then he's talking about the sweetness, and the sweetness pairs really well with a lot of things, like with the whiskeys, the wines, and that's to I think and I'm going to speak for Greybeard and Greybeard. If I'm wrong, then bump me on the head. But I think it's kind of like whenever we're thinking about cigars, we want something that I could have with my coffee, that I could have with my rye, that I could have with my wine. And in one word that you've used that's been over and over, and that Greybeard and I use all the time, is we talk about the intensity. Yes, there's flavor, but the intensity of a cigar, and that's what we've talked about over. Like if you look at every single episode, we've talked about the intensity of cigar, and I think a lot of people kind of overlook that. And to us, that's the most important feature of a cigar, is the intensity of the flavor behind it.
Well, yeah,
Most people think
you mentioned
strength,
earlier,
right?
yeah, and strength of a cigar is going to subdue, just like the tannins of a wine is going to subdue as the wine ages. The strength of a cigar, which is the acidity and nicotine levels, is going to subdue as the cigar ages. Body, I mean, I don't want a full bodied cigar. Well, the body is the heaviness and the weightiness of that smoke.
Yeah,
So really, we buy cigars for the flavors of it. We don't talk about, you don't see in the ratings of a cigar, as someone is describing a cigar as rating it as this is really intense flavors, heavy, bold flavors. You see strong and body,
yeah.
which doesn't speak to the flavors of it. So you're absolutely right, Red. We look for a cigar, and in our future cigars, what we're going to look for is something that's going to pair well with multiple types of drinks, which is very hard to do.
But Sebastien
Very
has
difficult.
figured it out with the wines, because and the rice. And let me tell you, I think that rice, because like everyone goes to whiskeys, and like we go to this. My favorite one is rice. that's my go-to. You can ask Greybeard. I really, really love rye. And I think it's because the intensity of the flavors of the rye. So, and that's one thing that I think that has just set you apart from, there's thousands upon thousands of different cigars brands that we get to. And it y'all are my comfort stick. I don't know, like, sometimes we need a comfort stick. Cavalier is my comfort. That's my home. That's what I go to when I need something that's dependable, and we go about the mood. Okay, I want wine. Well, my go-to is, like, if I don't know what it is and I'm not thinking, I can reach for a Cavalier because I know it's going to go well with a red wine. I know it's going to go well with a white wine. I know it's going to go well with my rye. And now I'm excited to try it with a white port that you've suggested. So, I mean, that's one thing. And I just want to say, y'all, I can't talk enough. I talked about how I've nubbed it. So y'all can see, I always nub y'all's cigar. And that's just like a testimony of how phenomenal. And some people are like, you always show the same couple cigars over and over. That's because they're my comfort sticks, and I know I'm going to get something that's dependable, and it's going to go well with everything. And whenever I think about that, I think of Cavalier.
Well, there's a few cigars that when I don't want to think about what I'm going to get, I don't want to think about the pairing. I don't want to sit down and really concentrate into what kind of notes that I'm going to get out of it, and whether or not this pairing is going to work, or write a review on it.
Right.
At Cavalier, there's a handful of cigars that I always go to, and we've talked about them all on the show, and Cavalier is one of them. It's just right up there at the top of my list of, if I don't want to think about it, I'm grabbing a Cavalier out of the humidor.
I appreciate that.
That's a testament to what you guys have done, and we thank you for that. Where you have surpassed our 2-hour mark.
Well, Sebastian. and Sebastian, and you are probably a popsicle.
I don't know if you can see
pretty much.
Shaking and shivering here. I'm like rotating my hands into my pockets here. I'm trying to.
You do the same, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sitting there switching. You see me switching hands, and I'm usually a left-handed smoker, even though I'm right-handed, and I'm moving my hands into my pockets. So yeah, I'm frozen.
We've been playing similar games. I can feel, for some reason, I had the bright idea to not put socks on.
Oh my goodness!
You're supposed to keep your head and your feet warm.
Yeah. I can feel my that feeling when you walk in snow.
Yes.
That burn. That's more or less what I'm feeling right now.
No. I'm feeling that on my toes too.
Dallas,
I've got socks on and tennis shoes, and I should have worn my thick. I should have worn my thick boots.
I wore my boots.
But let's wrap this up. We've been talking about this for a long time. We've been talking about having you on the show for a long time, and it's just been a challenge of getting the schedules to match. And that's just a testament to how busy that you have been. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time to out of your busy schedule to sit on here with us for now 2 hours and 20 minutes. I really appreciate this. We love you. Best luck. We're going to be supporting you as much as we possibly can, promoting you, getting the words out about Sebastien and Cavalier and all of the wonderful things that you've told us and are continuing to do. So my heartfelt thank you for tonight. Appreciate it.
I sincerely appreciate you having me on the show tonight. And yeah, thank you for your patience. I know I've been a little difficult to get a hold of.
It's been absolutely worth it, and we understand, we appreciate, and we respect that. So thank you.
I hope to see you guys around soon too.
Oh yes, you need to make it back over to the underground. You need to come to one of our bottle nights. If you're free on the 16th, in
Of what month of what year?
Yeah, I think he's going to be in Norway.
Yeah, I'm
I think he said
actually
he was gonna be in
flying out
Norway.
Monday again. So I'll.
Yeah,
all right.
I'm here for another 4 days in the
And then he's
U.S. and I'm
gone.
flying out again.
He's
Yeah.
gone.
So we won't see you on the 16th. We hold a bottle
2023 definitely.
Yes, it'll be in 23, but we do it once a month. We'd love to have you out there. We'll feature your cigars in the pairings and have
I appreciate
probably 30 or 40 bottles of whiskeys out there to try.
That
Shoot
sounds
wines. I
that's
said red
see
wine.
now I'm very sad I'm not here on the 16th. Actually, that's a lot of bottles. That's
Yeah.
so you have a. Sorry.
It's
go
insane.
ahead.
It's insane, and it's a really cool experience. And this is what I say for those. And here's my thing: is part of this process of growing. You talk about you need to get your education. So I'm in the process of becoming a tobacconist. So
Amazing.
I'm getting my
That's very
CRT. Cool. I'm in the process. So one thing that kind of like I talked about that I'm having to give up is bottle night, which is really kind of sad in some aspects because I love going out there and you get to expand your palate. I'm always saying expand your palate. We always say explore. And that's part of the exploration is like trying something that you may not have ever tried, and it's a great way to do that. And you have the opportunity with these different things that you might have not tried. Like one thing was I've never been a brandy person. I've tried brandy, tequila. It's just been different things that people have brought to the shop that we've explored. And it's just been amazing because I'm the coffee and beer person. That's my go-to. And it's been a beautiful experience, but it kind of stinks. I mean, I'm not going to say that because I'm loving my experience of getting to know how a shop is, learning about the different aspects of being tobacco, because you have to learn every aspect of the tobacco when you're going through the tobacconist thing. And a lot of people are like shocked because they're like, oh, what all is involved? And I'm like, you have to work 500 hours. You have to have 500 hours. Then you have to explore the different types of binders, wrappers, the different regions. So it's a beautiful experience. So I'm getting a different experience from Bottle Night, but I miss drinking with the guys and girls. I'm going to say that.
We've had as many as every single seat, and we brought in chairs, and people were sitting on the floor. And I think on this particular night, we had about 100 different models.
Oh wow!
There. Yeah. So it's an experience, but
it sounds like it. Yeah.
We'll get you out there at some point in time. But
definitely.
Again, well, thank you guys. Thank everybody for coming on. If you're not following Cavalier and Sebastien on the different platforms, I've put them up in the little banners throughout. Check them out, follow them, support them. If they're not if Cavalier Cigars, Cavalier Geneve is not in your local shop, talk to your local shop and say, hey, you've got to get these there. These are phenomenal cigars.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes.
And thank you for having me again. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
It was an honor. Next week, we have Edwina Brown. She's the owner of Blow and Smoke Lounge in the DFW area over in the Dallas side of things. She's going to be on the show. She's an ex-WNBA player. She's a coach, phenomenal woman. She's going to be on the show with us next week. So check back with us right here, same time, same channel, same location. And until next week, explore the pairings.
There's something for everyone, and smoke gold and stay gold.
Stay gold. Thank you, guys. Everybody have a good night. We appreciate you.
Night, y'all.